I am Isaac Getter, and this is the Our Place podcast. I have two of my good friends here, James Duncan and Akira Reed.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, these two guys are amazing. I can kind of let them introduce themselves, actually. Why don't you go ahead, James?
What's going on, guys? If you know this space, you know me. But if not, my name is James. I am the host of the Rose Review, also vice president of Kicks for Kids here in Lancaster City.
Boom.
And I'm very excited to kind of see where this goes, man, for sure. This is going to be really excited, but I'm excited, man. This is everything. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what everybody's in store for. So
Exactly.
Well, hey, my name's Nakira Reed, as Isaac already said. Right now I'm working as a publicist for a company called Adracel music label, and I'm also working on creating content for my own YouTube channel, hopefully coming soon. Lancaster born and raised, and just happy to be here right now.
Yeah, that's what's up. All right. Yeah, I mean, I guess people kind of know who I am. I run a consulting firm. I do a lot of activist work in the area. And I wanted to do this podcast to kind of give a voice to young people in Lancaster who are all making big moves. Both of the people here have done amazing things, like from Nikera being a publicist to James helping run Kicks for Kids and hosting the Rose Review. And there's so many other young people in Lancaster that are doing amazing things. And I wanted to give us a space to start showcasting that, and so that the rest of Lancaster can kind of take notice to that. So I'm going to have these people kind of talk about what their move is right now, like what's your focus, what are you working towards, like what's happening with you?
Geez, as of right now, I have a lot of things in the vault, a lot of things, just kind of, just moving forward, I guess, with the Rose Review. If you don't know what the Rose Review is, I interview local hip-hop artists here in Lancaster. The music scene is something that has been really important to me. I've been making music out here since I was about 12 years old, just interacting with a bunch of different groups. I've been in a couple bands, so this place, there's a special place in my heart for that area.
Yeah, James is a very talented
Yeah, I
musician.
appreciate that.
I grew up. I've been friends with James for like 5 or 6 years, mostly like online, and I've seen all of his bands play, and they've all been amazing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's sometimes I've found that you can always have it as a hobby in the back pocket, but right now I found that this whole podcast thing, I love it. I love it, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. Also with Kicks for Kids. Kicks for Kids has been great in terms of community and working with all of that. We've been able to help a lot of families. We just want to give – Dress for Success is what we say,
Yeah. Okay, so explain to us Kicks for Kids real
Yeah,
quick.
absolutely. So my business partner and a great friend of mine, Nick Levin, approached me about a year ago. He has his own LLC, which is Nick's Kicks, nickskicks.com. You guys can check that out. And he had this idea a long time ago about kind of just he wanted to give back. That's literally all it was. He wanted to give back to the community. And so he had a couple other people lined up for the job. And after working on a commercial with him where we were creating some content for his site, he decided, we just got along really well. And with my connections with nonprofit, with kind of people like my parents that work in the area and a couple other connections that I've had through that, it was definitely something that I was interested in as well. So we kind of just jumped and started moving. And we kind of developed Kicks for Kids in the first month or so. We were able to help. We just started working with individual families at first, and then we did a huge drop off to Milagro House. We've been partnering with the United Way, partnering with a couple other hubs outside of the area.
Just huge. And you guys give kids to kids.
Kicks to kids.
Yeah, kicks to kids.
I don't want to give a kid to a kid.
Yeah,
but
not a kid
yes,
to a kid.
yes, kicks. We definitely, and that's the whole point. It stemmed from the idea of, it's. Do you remember? This sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But do you remember the "What are those" meme?
Yeah,
Where people look at the, what are those? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in a sense, where we want students, especially who are we describe it as underprivileged youth, who don't have the opportunity to go out and get those shoes in the store that they always want to go and get, and going to school, and having that be actually a thing where people are like, what are those? Literally, it becomes kind of a bullying aspect at the end of the day. So with that. we decided, dress for success, something that we take very seriously, especially when you're going to school. You want to make sure you're rocking fresh kicks, making sure you're dressing nice, prepared to go to class and not have to worry about all the external stuff that's going on, whether it be at home, whether it be anything else. So we try to alleviate that for a lot of families.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I got to meet Nick last week, actually.
Yes.
And that was a huge connection. I was happy to kind of hear his passion and heart, and I'm sad he couldn't be here tonight. Shout out, Nick.
It's those icy roads, my guy. It's a mess
real,
out here in PA.
It is a mess, and I hate it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Nikira, give us the word. What's going on?
Well, other than my publicist work, still working on that marketing degree, and just trying to branch out on like branding people because I love doing that. Apparently, like just this whole publishing thing that's really right up my alley. But also like, as you already know, like I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to ideas. So other than the YouTube channel, I also like wanted to start my own cosmetic brand, so that's in the works too.
Yeah.
And just working on like expanding my horizons and learning more about like Lancaster in general, because there's so many things they have to offer that I really just didn't know about.
Exactly. And Nikira can do basically everything. I mean, I don't know how well we can see the makeup going on right now, but from
Give
makeup,
a nice little glimpse. Give a nice little.
nice
Yeah, there we
it
go.
From cosmetology to fashion to marketing, Nikira has weighed in a lot on some of my stuff, and I definitely listen to her when it comes to marketing. Being a publicist, talk about that. Like, where are you a publicist at? Where's that label? What's your main thing that you're doing there?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with like our two main artists just because they're really who we have right now, but the brand's called Adricel, and we're just a music label to give up-and-coming artists a chance to expose themselves. And it's really based out in New York. It was started by my good friend Norman. This is like his dream to start a music label, so he went through with it and he asked me to come on. So I did, and I've just been working with them. And it's been nice. Like today I was scheduling posts for our artists on their pages that are connected to our main page, and just having that every week. I schedule out their posts, put them in, have them ready to go. That's something we're starting now, and just having events that they show at. Like we have one artist, she's amazing. She already like got her own event together where she'll be performing with also 4 other artists, and just the initiative was great, and it just made me want to work harder to like push her out there and get her out there, because I think all our artists are amazing.
Yeah. And that's cool, because I didn't even think about that before, like connecting these
Connection.
2 people. But like, obviously, they could work very well together in terms of like music stuff, and that's awesome that you guys have that connection. And I'm really excited by Nikira's work because I think that just like fits so well with your personality, and just like from knowing you for the time that I have, just like your ability to do that and do that well is clear. So that's super exciting. And you mentioned like Lancaster community, so that's kind of where we're going to shift gears into. Being a young person, being in Lancaster, what are the feelings like? I guess in a term like, what do you feel like you're capable of here?
I'm gonna let you go first on that one, because I have a lot in my head that I want to say, but I'm interested to see what your path is.
Okay, so for like since my senior year in high school, I actually wanted to start a group called Young Lancaster. Well, Young Women of Lancaster to be very specific, but I changed it to Young Lancaster for like inclusive reasons. But I really want to just educate, inform, and get like the younger people out there, because they're really our future, and they need to be informed. They need to know what's going on, and their voices need to be heard. And a lot of the times, like, we see them posting stuff about outrage about what's happening in the community or in a global sense, but nothing's really getting done, because all it is social media outrage, and unless you're a celebrity, that's doing you no good.
Right. There it is.
Yes.
Got 'em.
Gotta be, you gotta be 100%. So to, like, go into the future, you have to know the past. So I really wanted to like start educating other people about like where Lancaster's been, where people like in their situations, usually like minorities or like people in low income housing, like what's like the like cycle they've been in all their lives in Lancaster. Like there's a cycle in Lancaster going on that really needs to be broken. Like people really need to get more involved in their communities, because without that, it's never going to go the way you want it to go.
Yep, and that's for sure. Okay, so just while we're here, you're watching people go through that cycle, but you're also watching Lancaster change and kind of become a little bit gentrified. So where is that playing into what you're seeing, like in your circle?
Just so my area I've been around, I've seen rent go up, which is kicking out lower income housing people who really need that to survive. Just with this Trump thing now has happened where everyone's afraid all their federal benefits were going away.
Yeah.
That would have been a big thing in Lancaster because I know a lot of people who are on Section 8. My own mother's on Section 8. She wouldn't have had a place to stay if that wasn't coming through. So it's just, I feel like with all the new things they're bringing in more higher middle class people along with it that want to come back into the city because they're bringing all these new things in. But it's also kicking out the people who really need these lower income housings and things like that.
Yeah. That's huge, and that's a great place to switch over to James because
Yeah.
he's all about that world.
I think there is there. I like what you said. I want to touch back on what you said really quick about just the young people and how they step out and make the change. You're absolutely right. You have that 1,000,000%. I couldn't have said that any better, and that's exactly the route that I was going to go on. There are a lot of young kids out here that are very talented and are very smart and have the ability to do what, even just stuff that we're doing right now. I don't think we're opening the door enough for people. We're not teaching the kids, I guess, that it's okay to go out and chase that. Because what you do is you sit in a classroom, right? And you sit there, and especially from anybody who's dealing with any sort of everybody's different. Everybody comes from different households, different environments. And with that environment comes this social norm that we have, that we teach our young children, that you have to go and you have to get this type of job to be successful. And I think that this whole gentrification thing and how things are kind of shifting, people moving out in that upper middle class. I mean, did you see that? I forget how. Yeah, the
Those
condo.
are expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it fuels that idea for these young students that to be able to live there and to do those things, you have to have these types of jobs and you have to do this, or you either need to hit it out of the park in the right spot.
Exactly.
And it shows, I guess, that I don't know. It doesn't really that you don't matter. And I think that that's really hard. I think my big thing with Lancaster is that there's a lot of cycles, exactly like you said, but it's in different pockets. I can only I'd say talk more music wise, just because that's where I am right now. There's and I guess it's an example across the board. If you're young and you're doing this and you're out here, you want to look up to the right people and you want to look up to the people that are being successful. But oftentimes those people that are quote unquote successful are those people that are the ones that, are going to take advantage of the little man and are going to take advantage of every single step that they can to step over somebody and move forward. And that's really hard to see. And that's in every pocket. I see it in athletes. I see it with physical, just with artists. I feel like it's so hard. I don't know, but young, physical, I'm gonna make a piece of art to showcase that out here. I feel is so hard. You have to be at a certain caliber to do that. There's nothing for the amateurs. I'd say there's nothing for the amateurs, and that's my problem.
Yes, the amateur market here is rough because anytime you go to an art show or a gallery show, it's always these older, more popular people in the community, and that makes it really hard for younger people and people who are just as talented to actually feel like they can have a place there. And I think one thing that I see from my point of view is, along with gentrification, is I was at the fig party where they announced the Cargis building putting on in Queen Street.
How was that?
That was a super weird room for me because I just got back from Atlanta, and Atlanta deals with huge gentrification issues. And where I was living in Atlanta, they were doing pre-gentrification, buying of houses, setting up financial packages for people. They were doing so much because they knew gentrification was coming. And so the second I land back in Lancaster, Queen Street is being completely gentrified. My favorite empanada place has already moved. They've already got bought out, and now there's Harvest Bagel there. And dude, that was that was the most frustrating day
Right.
of me, like in the last year. Like I
Right.
was very upset about that. Yeah, and I think it's so weird to me because we have such a large, like, liberal community here. Like there's so many of them, and they're running around.
Yes,
Yeah, I have to say something to that.
No.
It's like we have this pocket of liberals right in
Yeah.
the city, but we're surrounded by Republicans.
Yeah.
It's a
She's got
Republican
it.
state.
It is a
honestly.
Republican state, but like all these people who are doing all this like stuff in the city, like Lancaster Stands Up and all these nonprofits that do like lobbying and stuff, they're all full of like white liberal people who are equally excited about like standing up and protesting as they are about the gentrification, and that's why I'm so confused about the Lancaster like scene. Because the Lancaster scene almost contradicts itself a lot, especially when it comes to activism.
Absolutely.
Like, people want all the positives of the change that's happening, but they refuse to look right down the street and see who it's affecting. And that's what's bothering me the most about the Lancaster scene.
I think exactly what with the pocket of people that you're kind of describing is, everybody wants that TV quirky little town where it's like,
Yep.
this is like I hate saying this. I'm a hipster.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a hipster. I like to go. And like, listen. I'm a Lancaster native. I've seen this from the jump. One of the things that really like the way that like people, who you are. The people that go into Passenger Coffee and just like take that photo. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Those are the people that I think are the ones that will open their mouths for something for attention.
Yep, exactly.
And they and then when they get that attention, and then when it's forced on them to actually go out and make the active step, they won't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Do you think that's something we can get past?
I think that
Ooh, she's saying no.
she doesn't believe. Okay, go ahead. Expand on that real quick before I
Well,
go.
I'm just like a pessimist, I guess. I just don't believe in like humans being good people in general, unless they're like really trying to make a conscious effort. But that's a whole different conversation. It's just, again, with that cycle, it's so hard to break.
Yeah.
And these people, like was said, they just want all the good benefits from it. They don't want the negative things that come with it. Like, let's look at all these big figures that have done good things. MLK, the Black Panthers, even now Colin Kaepernick. They have stood up for good things that they believed in, like, wholeheartedly, and they took the negative with it. And two people are ready to take that negative with it. We're never going to get past like this, like, oh, we're here for everyone, but then when the stuff's happening, where are your voices?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think you hit it. You hit it again.
Yeah.
Like that was it. People don't want to take the negative, and I think even along with it, that there's not enough counter voices to it. We're in the last like 4 or 5 years, we've run into this social media age of activism, and that's created this. The social media age of activism created all these people who say all the right things and go to the right events, but don't do anything to counteract actual action. Because you never see those people doing the real work. They're always online, and they're always liking the right stuff, but they're never actually in the streets. And that was a huge thing for me as I started like getting into activism. I was watching what was happening online. I was like, if I actually want to do this, I have to make sure that I'm not that.
I think the people that are combating aren't talking. They're using the extra step that they have in the area to take advantage of an opportunity and kind of mix it to be their own. There's a lot of things that you can do out here in this area that you can twist things. You can
definitely.
make things happen. And when you have enough money and power to do that, everywhere this happens. But
Yeah.
I think because of how small this area is, it's important to note that a lot of the businesses, even in Lancaster too, like when you look at them and you look at who's behind that, are they going to fight for that little man, or are they trying to get? Is this gentrification move something for businesses to make more money? Did it go out on you?
Yeah,
It did.
weirdly.
Did it
Says
cut?
loading photos. My computer's like freaking out.
Interesting. Is it still recording?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I guess that's our cut point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. We are still recording.
We're still recording?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're at
good.
it. All right, cool. Keep going.
Anyway, no, it's fine. Did it make a weird noise before
No,
it did that?
it just like
Oh, that's weird.
randomly started doing something else.
Interesting. Okay. Anyway, I forget what I was where I was going.
I'm sorry. You were talking about like little people who are doing good work.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people that are out here. They're not fighting for the little man, I'd say. And I'll use this example, right? There's a lot of people in Lancaster that are afraid. They're afraid of change.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see. It's so sad to see. No one's embracing the change that could possibly come with the young generation that we have here. I mean, I can tell you just people just in my contact list of people that are trying to do it, but they're being blocked off by like it's also the way people receive stuff out. There's a lot. I could go on.
No,
I could
do
sit here
believe
for
you.
3 hours and I could and walk you through kind of what's been
Yeah.
going through my mind for the past like year.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'll say this coming from like the Atlanta scene, young people kind of ran the show in Atlanta. So when I spent a year in Atlanta, when I moved out there, I was shocked at how much I could do as a young person. Like even entering the arena and like being next to Morehouse and Spelman and seeing how active those groups were in like Atlanta as a whole. Like they had meetings with John Lewis at the drop of a hat. And like that wasn't the same when I got back here, and I kind of got thrown off balance, and you could say like it humbled me a lot. I thought I was going to come back here and be able to do so much. I came back and kind of got hit in the face. And so I'm kind of trying to help other kids not have that happen to them right now. And I think people like us who are motivated and who have the ideas, like we just need to find our way into the rooms. And that's been like the whole last year for me. Like I've just been sneaking in the rooms. If I see an event, I go. I don't care if I don't know anybody. And I've met the people, and I've met some huge people. Like a guy who's running for city council now, Jamie Herrero, like that's somebody people need to know and contact because he does it and he's like real as shit. Like that's the dude. Like, and I love hanging out with him because he has real ideas and he's passionate about the community. And if we keep finding those people, like Janet Diaz, she's a city councilwoman too. I was on the phone with her yesterday morning, like, and she was telling me all this real stuff. Like, we have to find them because they are there. They are here and they're seeing the same stuff we're seeing, just there's still not that pocket for us to have that input unless we sneak there first. And we need to be able to just be there.
how do you feel about our media?
Our media?
Yeah. How
Like
do you feel
LNP?
about no, I'm not just talking LNP. I'm not just talking WGAL. Actually, yeah. I'm talking LNP, WGAL. How do you feel about it? I'm going somewhere with this.
Hated.
Yeah.
She says hate it.
I'm not going to lie. I never really see the fruit in like even really giving it much mind.
Okay.
If an article runs across my Facebook, that's what it is, but I don't look that often.
Your reactions to what I just said is exactly why I think we're having an issue here, and I'm getting somewhere with this. I can sit here and we can sit here. We could talk on microphones for hours.
Yeah.
And we could have 200 hours on our channels. We could have this, that, and the third, right? It's the way people receive media around here that I found is really hard to tackle. It's a very old-fashioned style of media. I mean, when LNP pulled their physical paper route, and they went to doing more digital things, a lot of people were upset about that. So then they were like, okay, now how do we help those people? Because, I mean, Lancaster's the number one place to retire, and I don't think grandma and grandpa really understand how to use a computer and watch the news on that.
Yeah, my granddad doesn't even know how to get to the internet.
Exactly. So I think it's those media sources that are kind of funneling really that aren't focusing on really what's going on, and stuff that's like the repetitive news and the same stuff that you get. I don't want to read an article in LNP about Cindy, who's 76, who started a craft bazaar in downtown Lancaster. I don't. What I want to know about is what's going on with, the people that are taking the steps, like, even athletes too. I see this a lot with athletes. Like, there's not a lot of spotlight shined, I think, sometimes. I don't know. Musicians for sure. People like you and I.
Yeah.
I've got people at LNP. I've got people at WGAL that I know watch what I do, and I know for a fact that it's no one has reached out to me or anything about like what is this or what's going on, but they're gonna reach out to Cindy to go get that craft bazaar story, because you know why?
Yeah.
Because Cindy's cousin is sitting in like the house next door and is like, oh well, I saw you in the paper.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now that you mention it, I read the newspaper at work because we still get it.
Right.
And I see no focuses on what's really happening in like local Lancaster.
Because it's the way that the media is run. This is why I don't want to outsource any of my stuff to anyone else except for me, because that's the mentality I think people need to have. You know?
Yeah.
Go get it.
For real. Go get it.
Go get it.
We have to go get it.
It's not hard. It's not.
It's just dedication.
Like okay, I shouldn't say it's not hard. It's difficult. If you have the mentality to go for it, go for it. But I think another piece of kind of what you're saying, for the young people, I think it starts with our education. I think it starts with our education system here in Lancaster. I think it's a very old-fashioned style of doing things. I think that we were way behind on what we did with technology in a lot of these school districts, and the way that we use technology is now, like, when we got technology into certain schools, like I knew people from other states that were like using iPads already, and like my school had just gotten like a laptop cart, you know what I mean? And they then just said, okay, here's technology, figure it out, go run with this, figure it out, but you have to stick inside this lesson plan, because you have to go get a job here, or here. You need to go to college to go and get the degree so that you can have the job, so that you can stay in the cycle, so that you can continue to be in the same exact spot and not move forward and do what you love.
Exactly.
Another cycle.
Yeah.
No one's doing what they love.
Yeah. That is true. Because we're not even told that we can do that unless we're watching like Gary Vee 24/7. You know what I mean? Like that idea was not really put in my head by anything around me here. And like, you know, I was homeschooled, so I didn't go to school. But like, even when I did go to private school, that wasn't a notion. And even like during my curriculum, there's not a focus on entrepreneurship anywhere.
Right.
Because we're almost sold that that's like a vague idea. That's like a 1 in a million idea, when it's really not a 1 in a million idea.
Yeah.
There are so many people who are making enough to live off. Because I think there's this also misconception of like an entrepreneur is somebody who went from zero to like millions. That's not an entrepreneur. Like, being an entrepreneur can be what's comfortable to you. Like, if I make $100,000 off of my business, that's gonna be success to me, because I don't need that. I don't need more than that to live comfortably. If I double that the next year and triple it the year after that, awesome. If I keep making 100,000, I'll probably live very comfortably for a while. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what success is too in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's just these constant implanted images of what everyone else wants you to become to be, except for what you want to become to be. And that's another problem with like the school curriculum. We're not given the option to like explore ourselves, to understand what we want to do and what we want to put out there. Because if I would have known like firsthand like trade school was an option, or maybe even like if I would have been able to explore my love for makeup, I would have been in the cosmetology program already with like another like different type of job. Instead of like wasting 1 year in college and then coming back to community college, wasting like another semester figuring out what I really want to do.
Yeah, and I don't want to sit here and say like I don't want to be like, oh, college is a waste, and
right, exactly,
and oh, don't go to school, don't get that degree. Like, we're all in school, we're all getting degrees. Like, no. But here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you that I'm more specifically even talking, like, I'm talking high school. Because if I would have known the opportunity that I had to take the step to move forward, like, I didn't even know that I had this mentality in me until I met Nick. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that was a year ago.
Ooh, yeah.
So what?
Somebody almost has to unlock it for us in a sense, because
exactly.
Yeah, somebody has to unlock it.
Exactly. I was gonna go to school to be a music ed major, bro.
Dude, that would have been a waste of your time.
It would have been a waste of my time, because I'm just sitting now the rest of my life I'm sitting in front of class going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then like, I had teachers who looked down on me for going out and like, there's our clique, being like in a band and just like going out and playing shows, because that I should have been staying in school and like focusing on homework and making sure I go and finish all of my
my college apps.
You know.
Whew. All right, we're gonna take a quick break here, real quick, and get the camera back working.
All right, word.
All right. Now that we're back, we're gonna shift into another question. So, next 5 years, what do you want to see happen? Like, we talked a lot about youth engagement, talked a lot about gentrification. We talked about a broad amount of things. Like, but what do you actually want to produce and see done?
Like one thing, like one like
No,
specific thing.
dude,
Just like
go off. Like, because we got 5 years, and like even just putting dedication into my business for a month, I've seen how much I can do in a month.
Can you answer first?
Oh yeah, sure. Cool. In the next 5 years, I'd like to grow my consulting firm to a place to where I could actually live off of it and not have to worry about income. Because my main hindrance to doing all the things that I want to do is only income. Because I can manage working in a lot of different pockets and going to a lot of different events and meeting with a lot of different people and running the firm and doing all these things. But I always lose when it comes to money. Like I'm just never making enough money. My bank account is always running out, and that's my only hindrance right now. If I even had like one sponsor, I could do 10 times more. So I think for me, it's getting to the place to where I can be financially stable or at least financially consistent. Like all my bills are getting met, and I can at least live. I don't have to be rich. I just want to be able to live and do my thing. I'd like to be almost like a leader in getting youth out in there. Like I'd like to be in high school senior classrooms, getting kids out into the political scene and into the nonprofit scene. I'd like to be on college campuses, and I'm already making my way to college campuses. I was on FNM this morning meeting with somebody. I'm at Millersville like pretty often meeting with people.
Runville,
like, yeah,
Rollville.
Exactly.
Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Be here next semester?
Yeah.
What?
Am I here next semester?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not going to school here, but I'll be here.
Oh, see, now you get me excited.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Well, anything could happen. I doubt I'll go to school here because the online thing just works for me to be able to do so much. Like I'm taking
and you're so used to it too.
Yeah, I'm taking
absolutely.
Online classes right now. And I'm like, it's semi
That's
stressful.
that homeschool stuff. That's what it is.
Kinda. I like being on a college campus. Like I'd like going to Lancaster Bible in terms of like being on a campus.
Yeah.
But like when I want to produce, I can't sit an hour and a half in class.
I think you'd be frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you'd be frustrated on a college campus.
Even now, I'm like trying to bust out
because people don't give a shit. People don't care.
Yeah, I believe that.
I've ever told you tell you the story about what happened at Millersville my freshman year with the girls. You might have heard about this, and you might have heard about this, and I talked about this on one of my shows.
Okay.
So these two girls, right around what's today's date? Oh yeah, so about midnight tonight, about 2 years ago. There were two girls that posted a photo on their Snapchat story with the black face mask on.
I did hear about this.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh yes. And of course, I was a student senate executive board member at the time, and the day after that surfaced on our Facebook group pages, we were bombarded with Black Student Union and SOLA, and it was a lot to take in, but it wasn't smart activism and taking the steps and doing the right thing. It was let's get angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it turned into a bigger deal than I think that it was bad. But
Yeah.
within a matter of 48 hours, we had police on the scene. We had LNP was there, Fox 43 was there, WGAL was there. There was a press conference that was already set up for the president to speak at, that the president actually didn't show up at first, ended up being late to the event.
That's not
Yeah.
good. That was good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I think you would hate a college campus, because stuff like that happens all the time. Like, president sent out emails about stuff that just like happens.
I mean, sometimes with anger comes true activism after it.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I think there's a way to target
Yeah.
the
And
right
I think,
points.
Yeah. I think one of the...
You said something really good to me last week, and I don't
yeah.
know if you want to bring that up. But
I'm trying to think of the exact thing I said, but I can say something similar to it, is that anger is the fuel to do good. Like, none of us are, like, just chilling with injustice, you know what I mean? Like, we are all angered by it, but it's when that anger turns to strategic planning, into thoughtful conversations and to like an impactful process is when we actually get change done. And so, yeah, that is a problem with student groups, I think. And I think that's why there needs to almost be more intentionality with those groups to become better activists, because people who are in those groups aren't in those groups just because like they're chilling. Again, like they're in those groups because they actually care about those issues. And I think that goes along with like getting more involved in our colleges. Is like there are activists in Lancaster that should be going to those groups and like mentoring them on how effective activism works, because nobody who's actually running this game and who's actually out here is like naive to the fact that that doesn't work. Because nobody's starting fires in Lancaster. Nobody's toppling over cars in Lancaster, because they know the second they do that, they're done. And so we might as well start helping students and younger people engage in activism in a way that is effective, because that's what we need.
And that's what I think I meant by the anger, is that it was just it was heated, like to a point where like there was no rational thinking at one point, where people were yelling at us, a student-run organization just like them, for not notifying them about this, and we were all just sitting around like, we've been in class all day, so like like we have to go to school, like you know. So I don't know, and I'm with you, and I really like the idea of going out, and you should go for that. Like in terms of like high schools, like where I graduated, I think would love to have you in terms of like speaking wise. But like just like going out and doing that, that's not something I hear a lot. I like that. That's a good thought process.
And like that's where it matters too. Like we're frustrated right now because people weren't doing exactly what we say we want to happen. And like we can sit in this room all day and like think of ideas and complain and do all this stuff.
Absolutely.
But if none of us are willing to actually go out there and do the work, we're running into the same cycle problem.
All right.
And so I think if we can create like 20 somethings in the next 3 years, so like high school students now, when they're in their 20 somethings, we want them to say that they had the influence that we wish we had. And we want them to say they have the opportunities that we say we wish we had. And I think that goes back to the 5-year plan question, is that what I want to see Lancaster turn into the next 5 years is that I'm in a position to where I can let young people run things, and I can advocate for young people to be in the middle of things so that their opinion is heard and they can actually be trained into community leaders. Because there aren't a lot of young community leaders here. I think the youngest community leader I know is like 28. And like that's just weird to me. Like we should have younger voices there. We should have younger people who at least have been a part of activists and who want to learn, at least be sitting in the room. Like I'm always the youngest in the room. Every nonprofit event, every NAACP meeting I go to.
Well, I feel that 100%.
Like, dude, I'm just always the youngest. Political meetings, always the youngest. And by a lot. Not like by like 2 years. I'm usually the youngest by like close to a decade. Yeah, like close to a decade a lot of the time. And so that's a big thing for me this year. Like I'm pulling people to come to me with events now. I'm getting like I brought 2 LBC students to the NAACP meeting I went to 2 days ago, and it was awesome. Like they met a ton of people. I met a lot of people. I talked about what I want to do with young adults and youth, and like people are receptive to that idea, but they're not going to do it on their own.
I'm telling you, it goes back to that high school thing, man. And it's not just the teaching either. I'm thinking still as we go through, as you're saying more. And correct me if you guys think I'm wrong, right? There is no, besides even, I'm not even going to count Lancaster School District. Because I am going to count it because it's the same. But I feel like the minority rate in different like schools and things, it's huge. Like, and when you live in the area that's surrounded by sticks with a city, you get looked down on. I don't. My elementary school, I was one of 2. I'm not even fully African American, and like even that, like, but I was only one of 2.
Okay.
In my whole entire grade.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so when I at some points would open my mouth about certain things, I would get looked down upon. And I think we don't just if we go out to these young people. We need to give them the confidence to be able to speak and be comfortable with that, because I know for a fact, even at my high school where I graduated, it's so hard for me to do what I do now, because they don't care, because they think it's just that's just, they don't care because they don't understand my mindset. They don't understand.
Exactly.
They would look at your mindset and just be like, oh.
Exactly. And I've been there.
I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm fine. I've got church. I've got God, 2 stable parents in a home. I'm okay. I don't need to hear about your problems. And that is where I think I see a lot of the issue coming from. It's surrounding social stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I can agree with you with a lot of that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the mentality and the style of Lancaster is very stereotypical, at least in the general, like in the more public scene, like what you're talking about. It's like, it's 2 parents, conservative, raising their kid that way. Like, and then you go to the city and like the outskirts of the city, and that's where all the diversity is of Lancaster. Like Nikera said earlier, the surrounding of Lancaster City is all Republican and white. And so there's like all this white, all this conservative, and then like there's these pockets of the city that are just diverse and full of it, and then they all end up at McCaskey. You know, that's what happens.
You have it right.
That's what happens. They
You're
all
right.
end up at McCaskey.
You're right.
And then they all disperse.
Bro,
again.
do you know how many people like I've had conversations with out here? Like, I graduated from Lancaster Mennonite School.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people I've had conversations with in Lancaster? They're like, "Oh, did you go to McCaskey?" Like, oh,
Every time I
do you
get that
say?
all the time.
what do you
Oh my
mean?
God.
Every time I go to any event, that's what I'm always asked. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
But thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
they-
a weird. That's a no, but it's a weird. It's a sad feeling. It's a sad feeling.
Yeah, it's like if you're a
Yeah.
minority, you obviously went to McCaskey.
Yes.
You just had to if you're a minority. There's no
It's
other
so
option
weird. But they know, like, it's not like a misconception. Like, they know that if you're colored of any kind,
You either went to McCaskey or you're one of 5.
yes, exactly. Like, if you got any skin tone to you, you would probably went to McCaskey. And that's a weird thing. Like, that should not be a norm. We should not be automatically assuming that if you're of any ethnicity other than white, you went to a particular place and you grew up in a specific area.
I mean, and there's a change I want to see. That's a
Yeah.
change I want to see. You know.
But it's true that, like, a lot of Lancaster's minorities are low income because of the surrounding of Lancaster. Like, that's just the pocket that it is. And with gentrification coming in, what we're going to see is those people get spread out to York. Like, that's what's going to happen. These people are going to be pushed out, and it's going to come fast, because what's happened on Queen Street is already, like, a clear sign. What's happening around the corner where they're building, like, the new library and movie theater, like, all this stuff is happening, and it's making it sweep down. So all these people on the outskirts, they're fine for now, but in the next 10 years, they won't be there. Unless a change happens. But that change has to be it has to be like a middle ground, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the people who are controlling the gentrification, they're not just going to be like, oh, a couple people protested, a couple people said some
Right.
things on their podcast, we've had a change of heart. Like, that's not what they that's not what they're gonna do.
When I sit on that side of the table, bro, I let it rip, because look, and for you, this being your first show, I'll give you this as a tip.
Yeah.
Go in guns blazing until you're out of ammo,
Until I'm out
and
of
then
ammo.
just sit back and watch what happens. And
Yeah.
and this is, I guess, segueing into something that I definitely want to see change. Is I want to see more of I want to see a more cohesive area with the young people and working together.
Yep.
Personally, I need a new venue.
Yeah.
I need a new venue
Facts.
for people to create in. I need it. I need it.
We're
I need it.
working.
Yeah, we're working.
We're working.
Yeah. But I because it's that, and then with that, the liability of how we view African Americans and how we view music that's associated with African Americans, and I say that with huge quotes, right? The way we view that as a liability is so disappointing and so sad. And how do we step away from that? Ready? I'm telling you, this is how we step away from that. We have leaders in those positions that understand multicultural diversity and understand how to put on an event well and safely
Yeah.
Then you walk out of there and you kick it out of it.
Yeah.
I got this. So that's what I really want to see. I want to see more of just a group.
Yeah.
We need to come together here.
Yeah.
Young people, we need to come together. That's a call.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my main reason for being on these campuses. Like,
Yeah.
I want these young people to come with me.
Yo, and even that, like, and anybody who's watching this, like, even in like the comments or anything like that, like, seriously, like, what do you need for you to start opening your eyes and watching? Do you need a new news station? Cool, we'll create it. Do you need do you want to know more about hip hop? Cool, come to me, have a show for it. Great.
Yeah.
You want to know about, activism and working with, different community leaders in the area? We have it. Great. Do you want sports? It's coming. Like what?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
How much more? I guess that's my question. How much more do I or we as a unit need to do to get you guys to open your eyes and start watching what we're doing? Because it's getting to a point now where we're working our butts off and we're saying all these things, and you don't want to watch it because it's on YouTube, and it's not. Mom and dad, are watching TV. Go, just once. Tell us what you want, because I can promise you there's a group of people, 3 of them are in this room, right? And a couple of them are branches of Isaac and branches of myself and even you. We can make it happen. You just need to tell us what you want, because I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, because here's the reason that I even got into this arena is because when I first came back, I couldn't find a nonprofit job. I'd been doing some program development work. I'd been working in an after-school center. I thought that it would not be hard for me to find a job. 0 callbacks. So I was just meeting people, and like high key, I was just like going on Tinder dates and like with girls from different colleges, and I would be like, "So what about like nonprofits? Do you do any volunteering?" They'd be like, "Yeah, I want to, but like everybody at our school volunteers are like the same like 2 or 3 places. And I don't really know what's here in Lancaster." And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
And then I go and meet another person, and they say the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I meet with a friend, and they'd be like, "Hey, you do nonprofit stuff. Do you know anywhere I can volunteer that does this?" I'd be like, "Yeah." And I've been here for like 2 months. And I was like, oh, we should build some kind of network for this. And like then I started a nonprofit, dissolved the nonprofit, but I was like, we still need to have a youth-focused thing with young adults. Like, the truth is that half of the college kids around here and young adults around here also don't know what's out here because it's not marketed to them.
And Lancaster's just not run by Lancaster. Like,
Yeah.
the people in Lancaster are doing nothing in those main offices. Like, the people who actually live in Lancaster know these problems, know these cycles. They're not saying anything. They're not doing anything. They're not running for, like, the offices and stuff. If we that's my change I want to see. I want to see Lancaster be more about the people in Lancaster, the ones that have been here, the ones that want to break those cycles, the ones that want to.
And I need to introduce you to people like Janet and Jamie, because those are those kinds of people who at least know the city and who have been here. And I only recently know Janet, but our phone conversation was awesome, and like what I've heard about her from different community leaders is awesome. And we also need to recognize that there's a large Hispanic group here and Latino. So that's another thing. That's another branch that I don't think we really hit on. That's like the truth about Lancaster City, is that it's even more so than African American. It's heavily Latino and Hispanic. So we also need like somebody even in our circle needs to be that voice.
My
Like
other half.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like that's just true. Like even in our group we're running out. We're like we're almost missing a limb if we don't have that. Like even as like a youth movement that we're trying to do, like we're missing a limb until we find our Latino piece and our Hispanic piece, because they represent a part of Lancaster that we can't speak on. So like even we're growing and learning and changing, and if we want to do this, we need to represent the city well ourselves.
Don't be afraid to open, and I say this again, open your mouth.
Yeah.
And people are, and that it's the shutdown factor.
Yeah.
It's that I'm in an area that is controlled by a white population who funnels all the money into my city. If I open my mouth,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get shot down. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid.
And I think especially low income minorities already know that about Lancaster. like even just meeting the people that I know now, like they know very, very well about Lancaster because they were here before Prince Street. Like we gotta remember that these people were here before Prince Street, and I remember growing up here before Prince Street. I never was in the city. When Prince Street opened, that's when I started coming to the city.
You know what, bro? That's facts.
Yeah, these people were here before Prince Street, and that's everything. Like there it is.
That's so facts.
Yeah, there was really nothing I went downtown for before Prince Street.
Yeah.
And that segues into our next episode, which I'm going to have some people who can tell us about the real Lancaster. And so I'm going to close things out because I want to give our listeners like not too long of a time to listen to. But I hope you enjoyed this. Like I hope if you listened, you got something out of it. Yeah. We're going to have a lot more content coming. I'm going to have these two guests back again, probably in a couple episodes. We're working. Like to be completely honest, we're very much working. Like we are all every day in different meetings, working out things and figuring out what's going to happen, even just this year, in terms of venue, space, bringing young people together. So there's going to be a lot to tell in the 10 weeks that this series runs. Yeah. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening. This is the Our Place podcast, and this is Our Town. So let's speak on it.